Well, this just might be the best movie of the year. American Fiction. This is directed by Court Jefferson. It stars Jeffrey Wright. I want to put a giant gap after Jeffrey Wright because everyone else is supporting Jeffrey Wright. And Sterling K. Brown, Eric Alexander, Issa Rae, um, uh, God, there's a lot of people in this film, and I'm blanking. Keith David, Tracy Ellis Ross, John Ortiz. Um, well, I'll go with that. But we're good. I hit a solid amount of the supporting cast, uh, and it is it's currently out there trying to get Oscar nominations. Um, so you can see it in theaters right now. Right now. I'm a blind film critic and I'm white. And normally when I see a film with a black cast, I always say I realize that I am, and this film may not be necessarily the feedback this film is looking for. This may not be something that I'm supposed to comment on. But then every once in a while I feel like a film is preaching perhaps not to the black audience specifically, but also hoping that white people will show up. I kind of felt that with Stamped from the Beginning, which is a documentary released fairly recently with Netflix, where I was like, I can't imagine that this is a documentary made by black people to tell black people about being black. I feel like this is made to tell white people about what it was like, what it was really like to be black back in the day. So maybe that's my interpretation. Mainly I show up just to talk about what it's like to be blind and to watch these films. But with American Fiction, I just want to talk about how, wow, like just wow to Court Jefferson. Um, he's in a tough category this year, but I really think he screenplay, hopefully. But Jeffrey Wright, man, look, I'm so happy that this film is getting traction because Jeffrey Wright has just been such an amazing actor for so long, and he's never been nominated. And if they take, I swear to God, if he gets snubbed for this, if they take away this Oscar nomination from him, I'm going to be so upset. Because after seeing this, I'm just like, I think this might be my favorite performance of the year. Um, he's the right person for the role. It's the right film for him. It's like everything coming together, finally, just perfectly for Jeffrey Wright. He plays Thelonious Monk, who is I guess he's a professor of literature or something at the beginning of the story, and he's a writer himself. He has submitted books in the past, and um, he has thoughts on the black experience. And the black experience includes, he even drops a line fairly early on where he's like, I don't even believe in race. And immediately I feel like that makes him an intriguing character, an interesting, just like, where are we going with this? Um, but basically, he is black and he writes books, but he does not write books that necessarily are about the black experience as white people see the black experience. He's not writing Straight Outta Compton. He's not writing Tyler Perry Presents. He's not writing those kinds of films. He didn't write Precious or anything. He looks at those films and books like that, and he is trying to just write regular literature. As he says in one of his quotes, he says, the blackest thing about my book is the ink. And he's constantly getting pegged, though, for his books not being black enough because he is a black author. And he sits through the reading of a book that is absolutely hilarious and Issa Rae is definitely not getting enough talk, but I loved her in this. Um, she plays an author who has written a book like this, but she seems very educated. Like she's had all of the best experiences thrown her way, which is one of the things he brings up later in the film. And and when she goes and speaks and reads her book, it is the most colloquially like broken terms, and it's something about like a baby mama, and I don't know, it was so uh intentionally over the top to be this sort of like just like junk literature that he's just like, I can't believe. And then of course all of the white people in the film are just, they're loving it. And she gets praise for being an author. So he said he's fed up. And he also has a lot going on in his home life where he's a single man. But he also has a sister, actually has two sisters, and a brother. His brother, Sterling K. Brown, recently came out of the closet, and his wife left him, and now he's just finally getting to explore his life as a gay man, but late stage in life. And then he's got two sisters, and then his mother is also in a situation where she may need full-time care, and they're trying to figure out how to pay for it because she's clearly got dementia or Alzheimer's and is slowly drifting in that direction. So he has a lot of stuff in his personal life that he also has to deal with. But he does take the time to sit down, and after having a novel being passed around and being told no, that's a great novel, but it's not black enough, he sits down and he writes a novel that is, and we get to see it cuts to sort of like what would be like the cinematic version of this. And so you get to hear some of the dialogue being read out loud by people playing it in what would seem like a Boys in the Hood type of story. Which is where Keith David comes into play, playing a criminal father, and with his against his criminal son. He writes this really like over the top dialogue. It's very biting, very smart commentary, and he submits this book, and his publishing manager, I don't know what to say, publishing his guy, played by John Ortiz, reads the book and he's like, is this a joke? Because he's used to submitting his like regular work. He's like, I can't submit this. This isn't literature. What is this? Nobody's gonna buy this. And he's like, I think people will. So he's like, all right, well, I know a couple of people, I'll submit it. And they submit it under a fake name. And of course it gets bought. And it gets bought for a lot of money. And people are jumping all over it. They're tripping all over themselves. And they want to know more about the author. So he has to create this fake persona for this other author so that he can live this, like, because they don't want somebody who looks like him to write a book like that. So he pretends to be this like gangster that's on a run. That was it's all fantastic, and it has so much commentary, and we see the book continue to go through like this every time it gets more popular. He's just like, I can't believe this. you know that he's proving everything right, that he wrote this book to sort of be like a joke, like almost as a middle finger to the literature, to the literary world. And they're like, yeah, we love, can you write more? Can we make a movie? We'd like to give you awards, sir. And he's of course never won any awards, and it's just he's like, what is happening? So it's such a great performance from Jeffrey Wright. He's absolutely the right person for this. He balances the humor and the humanity of this man perfectly, brilliantly, beautifully. This is not just a straight up comedy, although it will make you laugh. It has so many uh, just real moments where he just sits down and he gets frustrated with himself. He's frustrated with other black people. He's frustrated with white people. He's frustrated with everybody. And I think this film was made for everybody. Normally, I kind of just go, well, this is my white perspective. This film's made for everybody. He's got Court Jefferson has something to say, and he's going to say it. It reminded me of watching Dear White People for the first time and thinking, I think this movie is for everyone. I think this movie has something. This is a director who clearly has something. Justin Simeon has something to say here for everyone. He's 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 got this bottled up thought in his process, and man, I'd love to know how Court came to this film. You know, how why this, and why did he bring this to life? This is an adapted work, so sadly it's not competing under original screenplay. I would love to be able to give him the kind of credit for, like, full-on credit for doing this whole thing, but he still found what he needed to find here and wrote the screenplay and then directed the film in a way with lots of intention. And it's a debut. This is his feature debut. um and it's amazing. I I laughed. I found myself definitely in several thought-provoking moments where he asks tough questions of the audience. And I do feel like he's asking it of everybody. I feel like he even turns it around on Monk. He even turns it around on Jeffrey Wright's character. I mean, it's of everybody. It's of people who think like Monk. It's of people who subscribe to Issa Rae's style of, well, I write what sells type of thing. This is what they want. It subscribes to people who, it pushes at people who would eat up this content, and not just the white people who do, but the black people who do. It pushes against all of that. It pushes against everybody, and it's weird how you can push against everything. It's weird how you can actually stand in the middle and be able to balance and push back against every concept, like the whole thing, and just examine what is the answer to this question. And I think Court doesn't even answer it for you. I think Court just leaves you with having had the conversation. He wants you to talk about it. He wants you to have this out, and maybe go see this with some people and then talk about it afterwards. And if you can see it probably with a mixed group, then do it. So that way you can have a serious conversation about, what did this film say to you? What is about how we consume media, and about our expectation of artists, and especially our expectation of black artists to produce things that we believe are black, instead of just things, just just simply things, just movies, um and is that okay? Is somebody like Monk, who wants to just produce work and just be black, is he expecting too much of himself? Is he expecting the world, should he be doing something for his people, for his culture, or is he perfectly fine in writing books that have nothing to do with anything being black? Um, is somebody like Issa Rae, her character, who writes the pandering material, but considers the fact that by saying that she, like, did her research, is what she's doing okay? There's a lot here to take away from. It's funny that the characters like Sterling K. Brown and Eric Alexander are really standing out, because the film feels so much like it's about one thing, and then it wants to tell these little personal stories. And Sterling K. Brown comes in, and he's gotten some awards attention for this with his, you know, um, late stage in life, coming out of the closet, and he has some scenes where, he's just sort of unapologetically, he's very different. He had a very different childhood. He remembers things differently than Monk, obviously. And he doesn't necessarily want to be pulled back into taking care of their mom and all that kind of stuff. So he's just like on a different stage of life. And it's an interesting performance from Sterling K. Brown, but we've seen him do interesting things before. And it's just sort of in the middle of this story, and I don't know what the expectation of the character is. But this film feels all about having preconceived notions, and I didn't have any necessarily about his character, and the film didn't feel like it was pushing any on him. He just is there, and Eric Alexander shows up also to help support Monk in a sort of like quasi girlfriend role, and she has really like one really great scene, and but it builds to that. Obviously, she has to be there for a while before she gets her like one really great scene with Monk, and but still, even in that scene, I thought Jeffrey Wright was doing the heavy lifting. So yeah, it's weird that those are the performances that are standing out, because I think Jeffrey Wright's a tour de force performance. And he just kind of takes over the film from beginning to end, and it's a great role for him, and I love him, and I'm going to be so upset if he doesn't get an Oscar nomination for this. I think it's one of the best performances of the year from anybody. And I think American Fiction is one of the best films of the year. So easily, I love what Court has done. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a director race. I think when you limit it to 5, with the films that we have this year, I think is going to be left out. It's sometimes with first feature directors, you really have to do a lot to kind of break in. You have to make a lot of choices because you're up against people who have established what their style is, what their auteur style is. And nobody really knows what Court Jefferson's style is. He just directed one great film, but it might be the only great film he ever directs. There's so much promise there, but the same thing is true about Justin Simeon. He came out with Dear White People, and then he ended up, his latest thing was Haunted Mansion. So I don't know what Court Jefferson's going to do next. And I think that is what keeps him out of the race, sadly. And it's the same thing that's going to keep Celine Song out of the race, too, by the way. Is what is your next film? Because we might nominate you for that instead. Debut directors, it's not that they never get nominated, but it's hard. It's just harder. Because they don't know. They don't want to give you something and then have you fall out and, and then suddenly they accidentally gave, an Oscar nomination to the next Rennie Harlan. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Can we take it back, please? Just dinged Rennie Harlan there, just out of nowhere. But it's like that. So, please watch American Fiction. It's in theaters right now. Everyone should watch American Fiction. I'm not even apologizing for who I am anymore. I think Court made this for everybody. Court has something to say, and everyone should hear it. And it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's got some amazing, it's amazing how it can make you laugh in one scene and then just make you just stop, and just be like, oh my God, what's happening? He has all of the emotions thrown into the same film. This is such such a strong debut film from Court Jefferson. Um, in the battle of debut films, actually, I think it's stronger than Celine's song work in Past Lives. I think Court pulls off more here than Celine did in Past Lives. Sorry, hashtag sorry. But I just, this hit me a lot more than Past Lives. Um, and I think a lot of it had to do with Jeffrey Wright's performance, which is just bar none, uh, just a tremendous performance. Um, I'm giving American Fiction an A, and it very well may be my favorite film of the year. I'm gonna reserve that for I'm still debating, um, and I'm holding on to it. We'll see when we get to my top 10 list, but this one is actually not just vying for my top 10, but I'll be honest and say this one is vying for the top spot right now. Um, will it get there? I don't know. There are a couple of films that I'm looking at. Like, I don't know which one of you I'm picking, but um, yeah, I'd love to be able to see this again. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I did hit my year-end goal of 200 for 2023, so please click subscribe and help me on my goal. I don't know what my goal is yet. I haven't thought about. Don't ask me yet. Don't look at me like that. I want to continue to talk about audio description. I dodged it for reasons that I hopefully will be able to talk about more when I revisit this film. And I will our website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite film and television series. That's it for me today. I will I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.